Hindus' liberation and salvation. The Hindu religion talked much and much about liberation, which was the ultimate freedom from the suffering, ultimate freedom from the bondage chain of rebirth. Even Sankhya said the ultimate liberation is death, and even orthodox streams talked at large about liberation. Surely do I know much more that what I had told you, and wherefore my disciples have I not told you that, because it does not lead to the turning from the earthly, to the subjection of all desire, to the cessation of the transitory, to peace, to knowledge, to illumination, to nirvana. Two things only my disciples do I teach: mystery and the sensation of misery. Human existence is full of misery and pain. Our immediate duty, therefore, is to get rid of the misery and pain. It is said by the Gautam Buddha as stated in the Mool Madhyamik Karika. The liberation in Hindu philosophy was concluded that man had to come out from this painful world, and there is no God, but man himself have to make efforts to attain that stage. As Max Muller concluded that Indian philosophers are by no means dwelling forever on the miseries of life. They are not always winning and protesting that life is not worth living. That is not their pessimism. They simply state that they receive the first impulse to philosophical reflection from the fact that there is suffering in the world, as stated in Sixth System of Indian Philosophy. The liberation is freedom from bondage, freedom from wrong knowledge, freedom from the fancies of life. To realize the importance of knowledge and coming out from the bondage of false notions. That is the reason this ideology worked for thousands of years, because they were not adamant of any particular thought, but applied reasoning and logic and welcomed new seeds of thinking. Now, on other hand, the salvation is not freedom but devotion to rediscover the self. It is an escape from pain and misery with the aid of divine help. In salvation, only the God is rescuer in this painful world, and he who devote himself in the Almighty get the opportunity to live in deliverance. The concept of liberation of early Hindu philosophies was later changed to salvation. The liberation theory required no rescuer from the pain and sorrow of this world. It is the individual who work hard to get liberation, and the only path was knowledge, and only true knowledge, or realizing the knowledge, and to attain this knowledge one has to perform actions as prescribed by the Vedas or Angas. But salvation lost the importance of self-confidence, and therefore the rescuer is required in this concept to recover from the sorrow or painful life. In liberation, liberated man is equal to the absolute liberty. It becomes one with the absolute, the universal soul. But in salvation, the devotee gets the blessing of universal soul and blessings of absolute reality, the God. Now there are also proofs about the influence of other religions on Hindu thoughts.
तेरा
as a natural process of development, and it was adopted smoothly because man collectively is a faith follower living being. The god of natural power of Greece was similar characteristically to the god of Indian Vedas, who provide rain and shower the wealth. The bhakti, devotion of Sufism and Christianity made people more believers to the gods and portrayed him as a creator of this world and who is the father of every human being. The fusion in different religions of different lands provided fuel to the fire of religious emotions of people. And even in developed countries, people are adopting the ritualistic methodology of Hindu religion. Like there was no concept of burning rosewood in Hindu religion, but it was influenced by the Sufism which was practiced in the dargahs. Practicing religion for Hindus was not a mass phenomenon. In India, the philosophical thought of Vedanta in Madhav concept or of Nimbarka or Vallabha and of Mahaprabhu tilted the epistemological stream to the bhakti or devotion path. As Tattvodayota stated, God controls the soul from within, yet it is real agent and a real enjoyer and is responsible for its acts. Bhakti is the only means of liberation. It is defined as an eternal love for God with a full sense of His creation. These thinkers shifted the onus and goalpost of liberation by knowledge and karma to bhakti and made that devotions towards the God who created the world in the only mean of liberation. Again, Tattvadipa stated, Bhakti, which is defined as a firm and all-surpassing affection for God with a full sense of His greatness, is the only means of salvation. The shifting of the method of salvation or liberation also gave rise to the sects like Shaivik, Vaishnav and Shakti, and their common goal is to attain salvation through devotion. But the difference was that the sect talk about the salvation while the philosophy talk about the liberation. Liberation is complete freedom, whereas salvation is rescue from the life in the showers of blessing of Almighty. The biggest contradiction in the practice of religion in India at present is that people are worshipping different gods and deities just to get the shower of happiness and blessings. Countless temples and countless methods of worship came out in the last 1 century. There are hundreds of prayers and songs to make the god or deity happy and to shower prosperity in a family. There are interpretations of Indian texts and epics to prove how the great god made efforts to make their follower happy and prosperous. The path of liberation by attaining right knowledge advanced by the Hindu philosophies is now reverted, and people here are fantasizing that God will come one day in their lives and liberate them, or God is looking to them and will shower blessing on them. Now, liberation means wrong knowledge, that they are part of this world and only God will help them, and they got salvation when they proposed or offer gifts to God or gods. And this present philosophy lead to superstitions and dogmas and social evils. What is wrong in wearing 5 rings in a hand on the name of God, and what is wrong in offering sweet to the statue of God? It is our faith and respect towards the Almighty God. This is the argument stated by people, but they cannot answer how this statue will eat the sweets which offered by them, or why the God, who is a creator and supporter of this world, needs some sweets by devotees when He Himself designed this world. And at last devotees surrendered the faith should not be questioned in any way, because it is a matter of belief. And what belief? The belief which emerges as a lotus in the sky or like a unicorn. Then why only feed sweets to idols of gods on the name of faith? Why not sacrifice own son for the belief that God will be happy? And Hindu says, we are believers of non-violence and vegetarians and therefore only offer sweets. There is no literature supporting the rituals of offering sweet in temples, and there is no valid reasons came out from the Hindu religion. And even priests of certain big temples do not answer this question. Eating anything by idol is irrational. And if they answer that sacrifices made in fast, then those sacrifices were not made to statues. Certainly there were sacrifices in the past Hindu religion, and even there are examples of blood sacrifices, but such sacrifices do not went ahead because Brahmins do not eat meat. And therefore different sacrifices were started, and these sacrifices were not to feed God or gods but to Brahmins in the later Vedic age. Now the philosophical analyst Majumdar writes, the performance of sacrificial rites was transformed in a fine art and only Brahmin experts could perform them properly. It was pointed out that efficacy of this sacrifice depended upon the dakshina or the money paid to the officiating priest or priests and their servants. Every attempt was made by Brahmins to multiply the number of sacrifices which were required to be performed every householder. Some sacrifices were small and others were great, but the Brahmin priests enriched themselves on both the occasions. A lot of money of the state was spent on the occasion of the coronation of the king and the performance of hot sacrifices. Thousands of Brahmins were feasted. They all had to give in dakshina on liberal scale, as noted Majumdar. Now, why these sacrifices were made? To get wealth, to get son, to get good wife, and therefore such superstitions went that sacrifice will make them better with blessing of God or gods. But again Majumdar added, the people must get fed up with the sad state of affairs in which the Brahmins figured as exploiters and they themselves as their victims.